Good afternoon, sir. Today we are going to do data visualization on Excel. We'll be using an Excel sheet given to us on Google Classroom. So before, let us go to the question first. Let us read the question and then accordingly we'll proceed. So I'll just start sharing my screen now. Uh, Share. So I hope my screen is visible. So basically, the Caselet here is about Specialty Studios, which is a global automobile company operating in multiple countries. The IT expenditure of the company has been on the rise. This is a concerning to management at a time when the economy is challenging and the bottom line of the company is shrinking. The management has a high level meeting consisting of group CEO, group CIO, and the CEOs and CIOs of different countries. We have been given a spreadsheet containing IT expenditure for last 8 months, that is January to August, and plan and forecast for the remaining 4 months, September to December of the year. We are asked to make a presentation to the management that will provide an actionable insight on the IT expenditures data. The management expects us to summarize key actionable insights according to the dashboard consisting of 4 charts. So now we'll proceed to our Excel page. I think it should be visible. Even if it is not, then I'll just start check. I'll just check once. Stop sharing and share my Excel sheet. So this should be visible now, right? So this is the data that we have I have downloaded. So before going further, we need, before starting to analyze, we need to know that what data we have been provided. We need to study a little, the data, and so that we can proceed accordingly. We need to see whether the data given to us is sufficient to answer the questions about the management has is seeking from us, basically. So the attributes of the table or the data is like date, business area, region, country, IT sub area, IT area, cost element name, group, subgroup, actual forecast and planned expenditure for these months, the following months. We can just for the sake of, we can check like it's 81,611 records that we have been given. It's a long data. So yeah, we need to start working on it. However, before starting to work, I would like to mention a few things like what is like why a different type of tool is there and why would you prefer some over the other. Every tool has a different sort of advantages or disadvantages. Like if you talk about Google Data Studio or Tableau, there the actual data, you are importing that actual data to work on the data. Okay, so the both are separate entities, the data and the platform that you are working. Okay, whereas in Excel, it's probably that you have the same sheet of data and you are working on the same sheet of data, so both are same entities. Okay, so not going into much details and starting to work on this thing. Let us now, okay, so I've already made this in a tabular form for ease. I can again show it like how to do this, or I'll just proceed with making charts. Okay, so first of all, I need to make, first of all, I need to ask like questions. What type of charts would give a proper insight to the questions of the management? Okay, so we are given in the question that the management is has asked like CIOs, CEOs of different countries. So we need to make graphs which would be in accordance with that. Okay, so let us first in Excel, for making any chart you have to solve it making pivot tables. So we'll just start by making a pivot table. So insert, we'll go to insert, pivot table, by default, like if it's the data is already selected, I would rather go to the sheet and select like pivot table. So sorry, pivot table. Table 2 has been selected. New worksheet. Okay, we are going to new sheet. Now let us start by a basic simple chart, then we can continue ahead. So I'll probably do a trend analysis kind of thing. So I'll take date, then I'll take actual, planned and forecasted expenditure for these months. Now, since it is okay, one more thing before starting to do that, I forgot. Let us go to the sheet and change this data here in itself, like convert this to a dollar value and removing points value to it because we don't need it, and further it wouldn't, our charts would look cluttery and we do not want that. So I'll rather just change it to the formatting from here. Accounting, decimals I do not need, symbol I'll be needing for US dollars, so here it is. Okay, yeah, so we have done that. So probably we can just delete this and we can start again. Yeah, so again I'll go to insert pivot table, selected sheet. Okay, everything is good. So again, date we need actual in the values, sum of forecast, we need sum of plan. Okay, so this looks all right. We'll just change it here only. uh, I'm just trying to put it away, the video thing. It's coming in between. Yeah. So I go to home, I change these numbers, accounting, no decimals needed, US dollars I need. Okay. So now we need to make a chart. We go to insert. We can see here that we have recommended charts and normal charts. We can choose either way. If we already know what we want, then we can directly choose from here, or we can go to recommended charts. Here we can see that they are recommending us bar chart, but I would rather prefer to go with line chart. Okay, so in order to, because it's showing like clearly like the rise and fall that can be clearly seen in this line chart. We'll also use bar charts like in for subsequent questions. So yeah, let us first go with this line chart only. So now we can see that it looks a little messy, so we need to like make it, it's data visualization command, so we need to make it more attractive. So what I'll do, I'll simply go to here. Do I need to show excess? Of course I need to, but I'll change the formatting a little bit. I do not want grid lines. I want my legend on maybe bottom. Okay, because that way it's more neat. I probably need a chart title, but I'll do that later. But first, I'll remove this because this is something I don't need. So I'll right click on it. I'll go to hide legend field buttons on the chart. Similarly, I'll do here because this doesn't make sense. Okay. We have already given the bottom these things. So yeah, now I don't need this also because I can clearly see the months field there. So it's of no use. Okay, now I do not want it to look like this, so I'll probably, because the numbers are too big, so I'll probably convert it to millions or billions to, you know make the chart look more neat. So I'll need to go to format axis. There I need to edit the display units to millions. Okay, see, now it looks better how it was. So yeah, now we need to give a chart a name. So I'll just Also, I want to change the background because for, I don't know, visualization, people prefer dark, I don't, for some reason. So yeah, we can make it. We have different options there. We can choose either the one you like. I I I prefer it like, in this color. But yeah, I do not need these grid lines, so I'll hide the grid lines. I do not need data labels, so I'll hide the data labels. However, I need chart title, so I'll add the option chart title here. Okay, I'll give a name to chart, this chart. So what is this chart all about? This chart is giving me actual, forecast and planned expenditure for these months. Okay, it's very, it's pretty much visible, but we need to give a name to our chart, a good name. So it would probably be like, you know actual, forecasted and planned expenditure for the month of Jan to December, but the name is too big. So we'll restrict our words in a way that it is informative and not very too big. Yeah. So actual, forecasted and planned expenses. Bracket maybe can give. Let's see. Let us see what how it looks, and accordingly we can edit it. So yeah, Cambria, 14 is too big. Let us make it like 11 maybe. Yeah, it looks good. Underline it, give it a different color to match with the chart. Okay, orange. Yeah, it works. So yeah, for now it looks good. We can see. We'll see what we can do to further improve it. We can always make visualization better by adding or deleting, editing some or the other thing. But we'll see that later. Let us move to next chart. Before that, I'll just rename my sheet to like, uh, it's kind of showing the trend, so I'll probably edit it to trend. One more thing, we can, yeah, but that is not required, so we'll leave it like this only right now for the time being. So we go to our the sheet again. For the what could we choose next? We have been given region, we have been given country. However, notice that we do not have continents and then country, we have regions and countries. So probably the company have bifurcated its data based on regions, then countries within those regions. Those regions could be a country or a continent, depending on, probably depending on the sales they make, or depending on other factors that the company has specified. Uh, all we know is that they have been given us a region and then the country. So we need to, uh, basically, if we try to make a, structure, tree type structure, so under like region will have country. Yeah, hierarchy is the word I was looking for. Okay, so yeah, we'll make another pivot table. We have IT sub area, cost element, IT area, cost element group. So we need to know, like, we have CEOs, we have CIOs. So what could be of interest to CIOs or CEOs? Like for CEOs, knowing that what was, how the cost, what are the like different cost elements in which the actual has differed from plan and by how much. Similarly, we have CIOs is chief information officer, right? So their work is, they are more about info and technology, so IT guys. So basically they'll more be focusing on IT area and IT sub area. So we'll, for them, we'll need to make a chart which revolves around this data, right? So let us see, let us make another pivot table to answer the next question. So yeah, the pivot table, go to pivot table, select range, next worksheet. Then we have, okay, so we need to, first of all, we'll need actual, forecast and plan. Of course, that is not the way. Usually you go to rows and columns first and then to this. However, I have done it this way. Okay, then let us proceed by this way only. So I would like to answer the question of like where the CEO would be interested much, because going by the hierarchy, CEO would be like on for higher position further. So we'll try to look for the answers that a CEO would be much interested in. So business area is something like which business area is uh, how the change in the business area, in actual and planned is, we can see from here. So business area, but then it is not, it's just showing like overall. So we have different CEOs for different countries, and then we have, above all, we have management who is looking for data for all the countries, and then separately for each country. So probably we'll use the filter stable and put country in filters, and then some of actual and forecast and plan and values you have already done. So moving ahead, we'll make a chart of it. So yeah, what type of chart you think this would look good in? We can always go to, again, we can always go to recommended charts. So I'll go to recommended charts. However, I'd prefer bar chart. Let us see what recommended chart has to show. Okay, they are also showing us bar chart. So let us just choose bar chart from here only. Column or a bar chart. So yeah, we have bar chart here. Again, we need to make it look a little better, right? Because this one looks a little untidy. So I'll just first of all remove the grid lines and legends. I'll make it to bottom. I'll remove these things. I'll hide this field as well. Access, we call it. Values, we need to show. These I'll convert to millions. And then we can change its background, so that when finally we are publishing our dashboard, all our charts look aligned in terms of like color and everything. Also presentation should be good, so yeah, we are trying to make it of similar same color. Remove grid lines. Chart title, we need to give what could be the appropriate title. We have business area. Okay, so this is showing business area. So and like for so basically sectors in the business area, right? So we'll probably give it a name like sector wise expenditure, planned, forecasted, and actual expenditure. So yeah, I'll just rename it. Sector wise actual it is showing first, so we'll write actual, then it is showing forecast, so we'll write according to that, so that the data is more clear. And planned expenditure, exp is sufficient, should be sufficient. We'll just edit it. We'll try to keep it same na, for all the charts. So it looks pretty neat. However, we need to make the size of our chart a little bigger. Yeah. And yeah. So yeah, this looks good. Font we can change. Let us see. Cambria. Font color, do we want to give different? Because this one also looks good. So I don't think we need to change it. Yeah, it's looking good to me. Yeah, so we'll keep it like this. We'll name this sector wise. Okay, so we are done with two of our charts. Next, we need to, again, let us go to the sheet and let us see what we can do further. We have talked about like CEOs. We need to see like what we can do for our CIOs. Okay, so what are the CIOs mostly interested in? IT area. Okay, so we'll make a next pivot table for CIOs, for our CIOs country level. And so again, insert pivot table, new worksheet. Okay, so for country CIO, again, we have, let us first actual forecast plan, and then IT area. My mouse is not very supportive today. Yeah, IT area, IT sub area. No, ID area. Let for the timing, let us just have ID area, because then two dimension and then three measures might make my data very much tough to work with. So what can we possibly make in this one? Let us go to recommended charts, insert recommended charts. See, again we have this chart, but I do not want to, I personally don't want to make this chart. I would like to try something different, but then I can see that it's not giving me a very good option. Pie chart I can try, but then the problem with pie chart here would be it won't show for different values, actual, forecast, and plan. It cannot show all of these three together, right? So I'll probably make it just for actual. Then I do not need forecasted here or plan data here. Okay, so now uh, let me again edit it a little. I'll just explain this. Give me a moment. Yeah, so IT area. On country level, we have, so some of actual I don't need. So I country I need, and that is it. So if you want to filter, the management wants to filter, it can filter, but that doesn't make any sense because then it will take it as a whole, right? So yeah, pie chart has its own limitations, and similarly others also have its own limitations, for it differs for other charts to charts. So let us see if this works, otherwise we can change. Okay, so yeah, what is the name for this one? We have taken what, we have taken IT area in this one, right? So, and actual expenses, so the name should be like expenses, actual expenses in IT area, so we'll name it, and it doesn't sound bad either. Okay, actual expenses in IT area. Now, why would management be interested in this thing? Moreover, why would CIO would be interested in this thing, right? CIO is would be interested to know like how the IT area, what is the actual expenses in the IT area against the plant. So, of course, he'll be interested in knowing this. We can resize it and make it look a little better. It's looking, yeah, it's good. We'll save it. Now, the last chart that I need to make. However, before continuing further, I would like to tell you that since our data is, you know, bifurcated on the basis of we have region, we have country, so we could have very much, pretty much used a geographical map to show this. But since my Excel uh, it's not licensed one, so it does not support, it does not allow me to use that option, so I cannot show in graphical. If you have, it would be very very you know the visualization is very good there. Okay, so but I have that limitation, so I can't. So I'll just stick to the available options I have. So insert pivot table, table 2. Now I'll we have considered almost everything other than the cost thing, which is again very very important for CEO to see how data. So we have element name, group, subgroup. So in hierarchical form we have probably a group, then we'll have subgroup, and then we have name. So we'll take like group. Okay, element group. We could also take subgroup, and then but again the visualization would be very much affected, so we'll just take a group. Okay, and overall figures we'll see. Values may we have actual, forecast, and plan. Okay, again the thing is like since we need different country wise, so we'll put a filter on country and we'll show country here in the filter. We'll do this. We'll convert this into accounting, sorry, currency, and US dollars. US dollars is here. Okay, yeah, everything is good until now. Okay, so yeah, next we are going to make a chart. This time I want to go for like stacked chart because it's to date or yeah, I would prefer stack chart. And I don't think that forecasted data is much importance here, but then let's see. Let's continue with this. If it is not, then we'll remove it. Going by the formatting, we have. I think I should not use my mouse. It's giving me problems. Okay. Grid, hide grid lines. Hide grid lines, then legend at the bottom. Cost element group, I do not need to show here. This I do not need to show here. This I need to format. Display units would be millions, since we have, yeah, we need to keep it standard now. So millions. And values we do not need here. We need to give it a chart a name, but then let us see if we can do anything else before we can resize it, right? Okay, we'll resize it in our that playing board. First let me give it a name. Sum of plan. You can see, we can clearly see like how this actual expenditure is most of the time it's like slightly less than. We can also show the numbers on it, but it would make my chart look cluttery, so I would avoid that. Even if you just hover over the value, see, you can see the value. If you hover over the bars, you can see the values there, so you don't do that. So I'll just add a chart title. So since we can see actual, forecasted, and planned, I would seriously want to remove the forecasted here, because that is not like not very much required, since it's something. See, forecasting is what? Forecasting is like external factors. It's for the expenditure is forecasted on like on the factors of external factors which is affecting that. On basis of that, the on the competitors data and many things are considered. According to that, the expenses forecasted is taken into consideration, whereas planned is something the company themselves plan to, that this much expenditure they would do, and actual is what they actually incurred. So here we need to, like, we have already seen the differences before. We needn't make need to show it in all the other charts, so we'll stick to planned and actual, so that direct comparison between the two can be made, and we can clearly distinctively see the difference between the two in this chart. Okay, this looks much nicer, and it's giving the required amount of information that we need, which is more important. So yeah, we'll edit the name. So what is it showing? It is showing actual, planned expenditure for what? For on the basis of cost element. We can very much see here. See? So yeah, I'll just rename it to actual versus, or directly you can write, I would like to write versus plan. So because comparison is being done, so we'd like to use that fancy word. It's not even that fancy, but it's it looks good. Cost element. So control all, select, we change it to 11, since every other thing that I chose was 11. Cambria, color change, underlined. Yeah. So this one is also done. This looks cluttery here. I'll just shift it to this side. Does it look good? Better? Yeah, better than before. So this one is my what? Actual versus planned. So rename actual, actual versus planned. Too big of a name for a sheet. No worries. So we are done with like actual, sector wise, trend, and I saw expenditure, trend, sector wise, actual versus planned, trend, trend analysis, sector wise. Oh, we haven't given this a name. Rename actual expenses. Let us make our dashboard, and then I'll further try to explain why we have done what we have done. Okay. You could also give, like, if we were, like, if I talk about certain things here only, see, you can clearly see if you go to Austria how the bars are changing. Okay, how the length of bars is changing, because it's giving country, basically it's filtering out for that specific country, right? If you select all, then it's giving you the overall figure. Similarly, we have done it in all the things. Now few may prefer this, like few would prefer to give a slicer. Okay, so like I would, rather than giving a filter out here, I could give a slicer of country. So if I give a slicer, I would see, if I click on Belgium, it would show data only for Belgium, Canada only for Canada, China only for China. So that is how this thing could be done. Like if you see China, we can see only forecasted expenses, actual and planned is not given. So reasons could be what? Reasons could be either the data wasn't entered properly, okay, there is a problem with data entry, or there could be problems like uh, shutdown and thing, but that doesn't make sense. Like at the times of corona, probably the businesses were at halt, so expenses, actually we didn't incur any expenses, okay. So yeah, so only the forecasted expenses was there, but no planning was done because the COVID came. So planning was kept at halt, actual expenses didn't occur. So reasons could be many depending on the situation. We, however, do not know because we do not know the for which data the data is. Uh, we do not know the actual reasons. The company would like to discuss that reasons. However, we can just tell like what could be the possible reasons. Okay, so yeah, these are the possible reasons we could mention. Like here also, we can go specific. Now, rather than making giving filter here, we could have done this thing. We could have used slicer, but then when we are making a dashboard, that we will just now will start making dashboard because we need to consider time. So yeah, I'll just copy paste everything. I'll start with trend, copy. Okay, where's my sheet? I'll just rename it to dashboard first. Dashboard. Let me just copy all the sheets first, then we can further arrange it and discuss it more. So trend, sector wise, dashboard. What is in sheet one? Okay. Sector wise, actual expenses is there, dashboard, actual versus planned. Did I change it? Yeah. I would just make it to like more. See, that's the perk of studying your data. Like you get to know if there is some issue, like something is not going right. So that means I've okay. Now this is another big task, so I'll just reduce the size a little to show that so that it fits my screen. Okay. Okay. And just I need to be very, very delicate while working on this thing because it's see it shifts. Okay, let me just give a background color first and then edit further. Our theme is mostly, oh, this is too much. Subtle light blue? No. Subtle orange? Preferably, yes. Yeah, okay, so let us keep this color in the background and let us just enlarge it. Again, here I need to make changes. I need to select all the countries since I was describing what could have been the possible reasons for China. I took it that way. Not most of our work is done. We just need to arrange it and talk about our dashboard a little bit, maybe. Yeah. See, in Google Data Studio, even in fact in Excel, you could do that. But since I do not have the licensed Excel, so it's restricting me. It's not allowing me to use all the facilities. Otherwise, you can give here totals chart, small charts for totals, and then of course the map, Google Map, that is very, very, that looks very good. I mean, if you have a licensed Excel, then you can probably do it. It's not difficult. Uh, I think I need to give a name, so I'll just insert a row. I'll probably merge this much of rows and specialty motors, IT expenditure. Yeah, I'll stick with that name only. Specialty motors, IT expenditure. So, what what can we say about this data? What can we say after studying this data and doing lots of visualization? First thing first, the first most important question that was asked was like, uh, IT of the company, the IT expenditure of the company has been on rise, right? The first and foremost thing. While if we see our charts, see our data, we can clearly see that the actual expenses in any sector, any country, it has been less than the planned expenditure or the forecasted expenditure. Okay, so it could be rising like from previous years probably, but from the data we can clearly see that it is not actually rising comparative to its like planned and forecasted expenses. However, a management needs to know, if we talk about management, their perspective, they need to know the why there is a deviation, even if it is a positive deviation or a negative deviation. Of course, if there is a positive deviation, that means like in this case that the actual is less than forecasted and the plan, it is a good news, but then not necessarily for a management, because if there is a deviation is too high, like in this case, the management could have allocated this amount of money to something else. He could have it could have invested it in some other another form of investments it could have done. But because the probably the forecasting, because the planning was not done very appropriately, we allocated this much amount, the management allocated this much of expenditure for this sector, right? But actual expenses is not exactly that. So that is why for a management it becomes important to know to know what why there is a deviation, first of all, if there is a deviation, positive or negative. Secondly, why there is such a deviation, even if it is positive or negative, so that it could work on that deviation, so that in future you do not, because the goal of the management is to maximize its profits, not just from one sector. I could be a head of this region and I could be thinking about this region only, but the management, it has to think about like overall. So they are trying to do cost cutting in all this by provide after, only after providing good stuff, like cost, and where can they invest that amount, they need to think that way. Okay, so if there is a difference, even if it's a positive deviation, they need to understand why was there such a deviation, what was the cause behind it. Probably their analysis team or the planning team wasn't that good, so they need to work accordingly. Here we can see that in BU or in distributions or services. In fact, in all the sector, the difference is way too high. It's around like, you can see, like, if it is 100%, is around 70%. So 30% deviation, we can see the deviation of 30%. Okay, we can further do calculations on it. This is just a visualization. We need to understand the data is speaking, the data itself is talking, that there is a change, there's a huge change. But if we want to go to like exact figure, then probably we'll need to consider different ways for that. Okay, similarly, here also we can see that this one is showing like a trend, like for months, like how there has been rise from month of Jan to March, then there is a slight fall, then rise and fall in forecasting data. Okay, expenditure. And then uh, similarly in planned expenditure, how there's a trend for different months, we can see this one, like actual versus planned on cost element, is for CIO of the companies. So they can very much analyze, like the company, for different country they can analyze. Okay, like suppose if I talk about France, let us select France. Yeah, so see, France may the most of the expenditure is in labor sector. The most of the expenditure is for labors, and the there is a little deviation in planned and actual. However, actual is still less than planned, but the deviation is very very low. The shared services, probably in France we do not have this more of this activity, that is why it is less. So based on preferences, based on what the country it is looking for, they can accordingly do this. Okay, we can do similarly for other countries as well. Okay, so the management can have an overall look, then go to country wise. However, the management would itself won't do this. So for that, in that case, we prefer to use you know in that case we prefer to use slicer. But since here it is not possible, because we are showing different charts, and we cannot have one slicer for all the charts, because we are using different pivot table, and we cannot have a common pivot table for all these charts. Okay, so yeah, that is why we are doing it this way. Okay, let us talk about pie chart a little. Pie chart, it's giving the data of IT area. Okay, I'll just cross it once. Yeah. So here we can see that we can also show percentages here. So that would make it like a little here and there. But if you want, you could, we can do that. See, it is showing us percentages. We would just like to, make it like hover over, because when we are presenting to management, we are obviously doing this, because if the figures are actually written over it, all the values, if we write over this dashboard, then it would, the visualization won't be good. So the purpose itself would be defeated. Yeah. So yeah, we are preferring to keep it this way only. At the end, I would just like to, you know, before summarizing, I think I should just shift this chart a little and give a different look to the background. Yeah, let us see how it looks. Go to home, color, and preferably lighter shade of blue. Do we like it? Gray, do we like it? Yeah, gray is much preferable. Okay, okay. So all our charts have orange and this one is not in orange. So let me just change it. We can also, yeah. So I think this looks good enough. So in this whole video, we have like talked about how we need to proceed. First of all, read the question, then go to the data, read the data, try to analyze how and if the data is sufficient to answer the question or not, or we need to do some sort of data cleaning or not. In this case, we didn't need to do any sort of data cleaning as such. Okay, then we need to after reading is going through the data, then we need to ask questions to ourselves like what could be the thing the management is looking to, right? Like in this case, we just we try to compare actual and plan and forecasted data for different uh, based on different sectors, based on different IT departments or areas, as we have said here, and based on cost element. So we have tried to cover all the things that was present in the data. We were given cost elements. We were given with the different sectors. We were given like BU distribution, etc. We were given IT area, sub area, and all. So we have tried to cover all the things here. Okay. So according to those questions, we need to come up like what could be the best visualization. However, I still feel that I could have most appropriately shown that using uh, one Google map, but since I do not have my Excel doesn't support it, so I couldn't make it. However, if somebody has it, they can totally do that. So yeah, that is the thing. Then we need to proceed with making of the charts. So we'll need to make pivot table for all the different charts that we each like different pivot for different charts. Otherwise, whatever you data you feed in the chart, the corresponding, sorry, in pivot table, the corresponding chart will have that changes. So proceed accordingly, and that is it from my side. Thank you. I'll just stop the recording, stop sharing, and thank you, sir.